Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're coming to you live from the world headquarters of Remodel Revolution from deep in the heart of the great state of Texas, the greatest place to live in the world, except for possibly close. There could be a close second, I'll say that, would be sunny Southern California. Who have, that's where you have like the perfect weather year round anyway. Today we're going to have a new friend of the show on, and we're going to do a new segment. It's a regional report for remodeling, and the idea of it is I wanted to talk to people around the country and get a sense of how the migration in the country and sort of all the things that have been going on are affecting all of us in different parts of the country. So I know that we all have our certain kind of challenges, and regionally, it really affects us regionally as well as locally. Now, this really, really makes a difference in a place like California because they have such stringent and just amazing code changes all the time. And eventually, a lot of those work around to the rest of us in the country over time. So I want to introduce our first guest, Sheen Fischer. Sheen's a contractor in San Diego, California. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Alex. I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you for being patient with us while we work through a few technical issues. And I know it's kind of early there for you, and I appreciate you getting up. I have a couple of other guests on the West Coast that refuse to get up this early, so I really appreciate you doing that.
Well, people always say that to me, but it's a little after 8 o'clock in the morning here, and it's lunchtime.
It's lunchtime for a builder, isn't it? You've probably already been yelled at by a homeowner. No, I'm kidding. Your homeowners don't yell at you.
I do all the screaming on my job.
You do all the screaming before 10.
On behalf of my homeowners.
There you go. You're the advocate. Okay. So California is crazy. I mean, I love it. It's crazy cool, crazy good, all that, but it's crazy. What are some of the new codes that you're having to deal with on the West Coast?
You're right. It's a little nuts. They write laws that contradict other laws, codes that contradict codes. So the one that we most recently ran into, two different final inspections on two completely different projects in two completely different municipalities that were both failed because we didn't have AFCIs and GFCIs on every circuit. And when I say every circuit, it now means on appliance circuits, which, for those of you in the know, you understand that a refrigerator, for instance, with 12 hard startup amps certainly runs the risk of tripping an AFCI or a GFCI breaker, which is built to trip at lower amps than a normal breaker. So that's really the one that just went into effect, that we just found out about. And again,
so every circuit in the house has to have a GFCI?
Either an AFCI, which is the breaker in the panel that had the button, or a GFCI, which is the button on the outlet itself. Is
that a universal code or international code requirement?
I haven't even had a chance to look it up yet. It happened very recently. So by and large, California, abides by the International Building Code and the National Electrical Code, that type of stuff. So I do not know if those are written into those manuals, but I know that's a code that seems to be fairly universal, at least in Southern California, which probably means the state of California. And it's not uncommon for California to write to expand on codes that may not have been adopted nationally or internationally, and sometimes those trickle back up, if that makes sense.
Well, they've been sort of phasing that code in here for a couple of years now, and it's been very interesting in the remodeling world, of course, because you're dealing with existing conditions, existing circuitry, and we now have some cities requiring that we upgrade it, and that's expensive.
It's very expensive, and it's a burden on the client, as all of these things are. Right?
Hmm.
The inspector comes out, tells us what to do. We can't just do it and pay for it, so we have to go to the client and explain to them what the issue is and how it needs to be resolved, and then give them obviously a cost to do it. So it is burdensome, and with the understanding that, look, most of these codes are written for safety reasons. They are trying to protect people, and from I suppose incidents that have occurred. But it doesn't make the burden any less financially.
Well, what happens is you end up having to compromise on other things you want to do, and so that that change may take away from something decorative or maybe some upgrade the client wanted to do, and they're going, well, now we can't do that. So that really, to me, that's how it affects it as much as anything for most normal remodels that are on a budget.
Well, there's another side of it too. It affects the trust. The ability as a contractor to go in and when you speak to the client, they trust what you're saying, right? When you come back to them, hey, look, apparently there's a new code that we didn't know about. Well,
Yeah.
Gee, why wouldn't you know about every code? That's a whole conversation.
Let me bring my 3-inch code book over to you.
Exactly. Which, by the way, is not up to date because nobody knows about this.
That's right. Well, the funny thing is, and I learned this as a young contractor, and it just made me so mad. And I don't know how they do it in California, but here in Dallas, we were never ever notified of code changes. You had to find out. You had to figure it out. You would submit a set of plans or call for an inspection, and they'd say, well, that's not to the current code. And you go, well, no one told me there was a change. How am I supposed to know this?
Well, the interesting thing on these is it wasn't on the plans. Both these sets of plans that I'm specifically speaking about were approved in 2020. The final inspections took place in 2021. Now, generally, they are not supposed to impose a new code on you. The code that was in effect when the plans were approved would be applicable. But again, two different inspectors in two different municipalities imposed the exact code. We got on the phone with our electrician one day after the other. It's like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know either, So
that's the human part of remodeling, right? That's the part where you're dealing with the homeowner, the trades, the contractor. Everybody is kind of in the same boat on that one, and we all kind of have to fight through it together. So let's talk about something else in Cali. On the West Coast, how is it sounds like if we read the paper or watch the news, everybody's bailing out of there. And there's this mass migration to Texas. Of course, we've changed some of our signs on the highways, and we put a big left arrow right when you get to the state line. Turn left here to go to Texas. Kidding. We love people. How is the population and the migration numbers in California, and how is that affecting your business, if it is?
Well, look, as a guy that's lived here 30 years, I haven't noticed, of course, we have 2020, which is kind of hard to judge population by walking out on the street these days, right? Historically, people went north. For the last 10, 15 years, Californians were going to Oregon and Washington, but things are not much better up there, and the weather really sucks.
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine just moved to Texas, so I'm aware of the Texas migration. I would say it's probably in the metropolitan areas. It's so overpopulated here that you don't really, it's like, taking a couple specks of dust off the pile of dirt. That said, we have a severe overpopulation issue here. We have a severe affordable housing crisis, a severe housing crisis in general. And one of the more exciting things that we've seen the last couple of years is the state of California has mandated the building of accessory dwelling units or granny flats. It's a big part of our business now, and a lot of contractors are getting into
it. Explain exactly what that is. what a
So
granny flat is.
an accessory dwelling unit can be either an attached or a freestanding unit. It needs to be a self-sufficient unit. It has to have a kitchenette, has to have sanitary facilities like a bathroom, has to have a place for somebody to sleep, obviously. It's a place where a person can live independently. Historically, especially along the southern or the coastal portions of California, they were not you just didn't bother designing and submitting one for permits because it would lead to increased rental units, increased population along the coastal areas that certainly didn't need them. So up till about 2 or 3 years ago, you kind of laughed if somebody said, "Hey, I want to build a granny flat," which is a more common name for it. So now the state of California, and I believe they've gotten this one right, and they continue to get it right. They set a minimum standard for what is required to qualify to build an accessory dwelling unit. It includes reduced setbacks, all kinds of reduced requirements that the municipalities now have to adopt as minimums. Many of the municipalities have gone overboard, have not only adopted them, but have also said, "Hey, look, you get zero setbacks, you have no fees." They've actually pre-approved certain floor plans.
What inspired all of this change? What brought this about?
Well, because the belief is, and I think it's an accurate belief, is that by allowing people to build on property that they already own without having to improve that property in any other fashion, in other words, no new electrical meters, no new water, you can feed directly off the existing utilities of the main house. It becomes more affordable for people to build units that they can then rent, long-term rent, or have their family members, children, whatnot, move into and provide affordable housing and more plentiful housing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So along with this change also came quotas from the state for the municipalities. So over the course of the next 20 years, municipalities have certain quotas that they have to hit.
Very interesting.
To prove that they are providing X amount of affordable housing in their respective areas.
Well, Dallas went the same direction in the late 90s that you were at, where they just said no secondary buildings. They would refer to it as multifamily, and they were trying to prevent rentals. And then I don't know the situation right now, but I think that it's. I couldn't do a pool house unless I could prove that it wasn't going to be a rental property. I think that I have my opinions about that, which don't matter to the city, but I think that it's a great thing, and it's enabling more people, more housing, and California needs it super, super bad. And we're getting to the same place. So all in all, how do you feel about the health and the vibrancy of the remodeling industry in Southern California right now?
Right now, it's amazing. I don't know anybody that's not busy. I don't know anybody that's complaining. I've been in the business 30 years. At the end of March of last year, when the quarantine came down, I thought we were out of business. Instead, we ended up having the best year that I've had in 30 years.
Wow.
2021 is shaping up the same way. Well, what we get, right, as remodel contractors specifically, and I've had this conversation 20 times, if not more, you walk into people's homes and they're like, well, now that this has happened once, now that we know they can shut the world down, we know that it'll probably happen again. And next time it happens, I don't want to be sitting around thinking about the project that I should have done 5 years ago, which would make it much more comfortable to live through this.
Are you seeing a lot of difference in what people are asking you for as far as the type of rooms or the type of redos that they're wanting to do?
No. What we see a difference is frankly, it's, and again, this may be the first time in 30 years I've ever experienced it. I can't remember another time, is that it's a seller's market. Right now, all of the good remodel contractors and even the bad remodel contractors are so busy. And the prospective clients are starting to figure it out, like when they make 10 phone calls and don't get a return call. Right. It's become, and especially for us good guys, the ones that are trying to do it right. Look, we're not out there trying to stick it to people, but it's nice to be able to pick and choose your projects, and it's nice to be able to say, Just do it the way that it really should be done. Take a lot of the extraneous considerations that homeowners bring to the table, in different times.
Well, it probably affects everybody, the homeowner and the contractor, similarly, where it sort of forces everybody to focus on the right way to do it. I mean, you and I've had to explain to so many people over the years. I know we have, because we're in the same business, and there's some sort of general things that are consistent throughout the universe in remodeling. And one is, I can't give you the best job you can get cheap. You have to be realistic about the cost. You have to be realistic about the time. And then you have these times when we're all just saturated with business, and you can't control all of the things that are coming your way. And now in California, it's not so much weather, or in San Diego, it's not so much weather. In Dallas, it is. There's weather, and then there's labor and materials and things like that. And that's going to lead to my last question today. How are your labor and material challenges, or do you have them at this point?
Oh, yes. There was a point in time where we couldn't get OSB. A few months back, when the riots were happening, all the OSB was bought up by people trying to board up their windows. Everything from appliances to windows, very, very difficult to get out here. Matter of fact, we're taking delivery on a job site today for appliances we don't need for 3 months, but if we don't take them today,
get them now, yeah,
and not get them. So yeah, everything's slower out here. With everybody being busy, we can't make a phone call today and get a guy lined up for Friday. We make a phone call today, and hopefully we can get him lined up for next Friday.
Right.
Type. So
yeah, I mean, we're all, I think we're all facing labor challenges for sure. And it's not only just, can you get them there? Can you get somebody that's qualified to do the job? Something better than a warm breathing body.
Right.
I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your morning or your mid morning to visit with us today. And I hope we can do this again in the future, in the near future. And Sheen, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Have a great day. Thank you.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.